Journey with a Cinephile presents.
She went to Neverland. And you can visit her anytime you like.
3, 4 years ago.
Everything in this room is eatable. Even I'm eatable. But that is called cannibalism, my dear children, and is in fact frowned upon in most societies.
Depp Dive, a Depper look into Johnny's feature filmography.
I think you dropped this.
Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
You may kill me, but you may never insult me. Who am I? Captain Jack Sparrow.
Episode 16, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, and Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. Hello and welcome, listeners, to another episode here of Journey with a Cinephile presents Depp Dive, a Depper look at Johnny's feature filmography. This is going to be episode number 16. I am one half of your hosting duo of David Garrett Jr., as I am joined by...
The better half of Jamie Frisch Garrett.
That is true. I'm not going to say anything just because you are having a rough go as of late because of a very important reason that we had been alluding to in previous episodes.
We would like to introduce our second and last child. We had a son, or I produced.
I was also
I
part
birthed.
of this.
Yes. We had our son join us on February 27th. His name is David Allen Garrett III. But
Whoop.
I don't know what I was thinking. No, just kidding. It was my idea.
Yeah, going by the nickname of...
Trip.
Yep.
So we just recently had our little neighbor boy said, Trip, like I fall down. And I'm like, Trip as in triple, but sure.
Correct.
Yes, both can be correct. Hopefully he has more coordination than myself and our daughter.
I hope so. I think she'll be fine, hopefully. Just she's still young, so she...
What happened to me?
Well, but there was a magical stretch there where David was actually going to be Jack Sawyer Garrett after a playoff run by The Ohio State University, but cooler heads prevailed.
Yes, I had a lot of big feelings, and apparently so did you.
Yeah, I lost my voice that night.
You always do when things like that happen.
And yeah, so everybody is sleeping currently at the moment.
Hopefully
I would knock on wood, but
I know that's gonna annoy you, but hey, it's worth it. Yeah, so he is 1 month and 2 days old.
Yes, as of this day of this recording, this intro at least.
This intro, yes, and as you could predict, it is exhausting having a newborn and a toddler. But shockingly, Mackenzie's doing very well.
Yeah, she's a little bit under the weather right now, but I also think medicine is helping for her to sleep.
Yeah, but she is either indifferent or is loving on him, and he's a potato, so...
Yeah, so he's easy, for the most part. For the most part.
They're hard and easy in different ways.
Yeah, agreed.
Because neither of them can tell me what they want. That's the hardest part.
And she just presses buttons on purpose.
You cannot tell, but I am just glaring at him because it's a trait she got from him.
That's fair. That's touche. I'll
you know it.
I'll own that one.
Many of our fights have started that way.
What do you mean?
Well, right there, example, pushing buttons.
Anything else you want to talk about for this little stretch about our personal lives before we kind of talk about why we are here?
I think that's a great recap of the last month.
That's true. Well, as we were saying, I mean... For all of you listening previously or, continuing or just new listeners, this is, we're covering the next Johnny Depp films, too.
Yes.
There's no mini one we're going to do here because everything going forward we haven't watched for some time. But this one actually worked out well. I don't know how this matched up, but we were very lucky here that we are going to be doing a Pirates of the Caribbean double feature as we do... Ooh. Dead Man's Chest, I believe, is 2, and then the third one is At World's End. I know that one's At World's End.
Sure, I have no idea.
These ones are...
I call it Pirates of the Caribbean 2, Pirates of the Caribbean 3.
That's fair. So, 2 and 3 we're going to be...
I think it's because I picked Secret Window. to do.
That helped, but we didn't do Platoon again.
Oh.
And then we didn't.
Did we talk about Platoon?
Yeah, we briefly talked about it a long time.
Okay, I thought you meant recently.
It's like episode 2. And then we also did, what was it? We skipped over Nightmare on Elm Street 6, Freddy's Dead, because you didn't watch all the ones in the middle, and he literally only has like a 30-second cameo in that one. As they're making
like
fun
Cons
of those.
Man.
Yeah,
We should have done.
We also skipped Map to the Stars or something like that because it's a very similar role to Cons Man from what I was reading up on.
Got it.
Where like it's him and Jim
So I guess
Jarmusch are
it's
like
not
friends.
just my
We worked together on this one and we paired it up well.
Happy luck.
Yes, but I mean, picking Secret Window is the closest one to what we've done for that.
Yeah.
We have Pirates one here. I don't want to go too in depth for what like our history with either of these two movies, but I'm assuming you've seen both of these multiple times.
I've definitely seen the second one.
I saw that
multiple
one in theaters.
times. I don't know about the third because it started to get more into the lore and mythology, and it lost its shine for me.
That's fair.
And then I think Orlando Bloom stopped being in them,
After
and Keira
3.
Knightley, and then I just
Neither one of them are in 4.
okay, yeah, I quit enjoying them as much. And what year did they come out?
I do not have it up, but let's go ahead and keep stalling for time here because I'm not sure.
I think I just quit being as involved in the Pirates theme. Like that was so big for so long, and I think I just stopped. And other things took more precedence.
Interesting. All 3 of these movies were I'll get into it more, were directed by the same guy. Gore Verbinski did all 3 of these movies. And the next one is 2006, and then the next one, and then At World's End is 2007.
Well, 2006 I would have been still in high school, so I'm surprised. So that's why I saw it, and then 2007 I had other interests. Especially if it came out in the second half of 2007.
Well, because I would have been in college for these 2. I know I watched. I think I went with like a bunch of friends from high school. I think I came home and
for this movie.
No, like I think I came home and like everybody's like, "Hey, do you want to go see the new Pirates movie?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll go see it." Like I like the first one, and then At World's End. I'm pretty sure I did not see that in theater. I think I saw that on DVD. I think I picked it up.
And I think I get them all mixed up because I don't know. I believe the second one has Orlando's dad.
Yes, they both do.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, Stellan.
Nailed it. And then the third one, I think, has more of the lady with the Caribbean accent.
Yes, that's Calypso. And she's Naomi Harris, I believe is her name. She was in 28 Days Later.
Okay.
Yeah, so, yes, you are right. This does lean more into that one.
And then I don't know if I've seen 4.
Because, I mean, spoiler alert.
Which one has the Kraken? Sorry, I cut you off.
3. I was actually going to get into that.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure at the end of 2, they release her not realizing that she's a villain.
Got it.
Kraken might be in 2 as well, because I actually think the Kraken is the weapon that the
guy
ship
with the
uses.
Squid face.
Yes, I think he uses that as his, like...
Because the boat of the damned.
Yeah, it's the Dreadnought. Or I know that's a type of boat, I don't know.
Don't worry, everybody, hang on.
Yeah, we have not seen these movies.
We will...
We'll know after we watch them.
Clarify after. It's just jogging memory. It's been so long since I've watched.
Because the Kraken, just as the last thing here that I'll say, is Greek mythology. Because that is a thing that is in the remake of Clash of the Titans. I think it also is in the original Clash of the Titans. That's something that Poseidon uses when he gets angry. Because it's a giant octopus.
Sorry, when you said Clash of the Titans, I was thinking of football, but that's Remember the Titans.
Yeah.
That's where my
Clash
brain
of the Titans
went.
is,
that's why I just stared at you, because I was like, this
he's
is
telling
not
the story
football.
of Perseus as he defeats the Kraken.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
That's a pretty good movie. Both the original and the remake.
Add it to our list. We'll get there eventually.
At some point. But yeah, it's where Perseus gets Pegasus and then goes and has to defeat Medusa. Just... I was a huge nerd for Greek mythology growing up. That's why I also like these 2 movies because there is more mythology, like you're saying, that they're doing more pirate lore. Because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't realize that your family knows about just because they were into boating. So like they're not pirates, but they definitely know they know like at sea lore, even though they boat in lakes.
Are you talking about the Jolly Roger flag?
Well, yes, because we talked about that when we went to Maine. Is that where we went to the seafood restaurant and then we figured out that...
Well, I said the Jolly Roger flag, and you were like, what? That has a name? I'm like, I think so.
Well, see, I knew it from Mario. Oh. Because Jolly Roger Bay was the world where you go when there's like pirate ships and stuff that are sunk. So I had no idea that was a joke or like an inside thing.
And for the record, I do enjoy mythology. I just don't know about it enough, so I feel like I miss a lot of things. And that's all I have on. That's
I also
all I have to say
retain
about that.
useless facts, so that also doesn't help.
So I'm excited to watch this movie with you. So when I have questions, because
Like
that's
said,
where I get annoyed with.
I do know they're borrowing from other mythology here, because Calypso I think might be in something else as well.
Nice. So we're gonna learn a whole bunch.
We'll figure it out.
Thumbs up.
Yeah. Anything else then before we jump out of here to go watch Dead Man's Chest?
We should probably get going in case one of our
if anything, it's going to be
children.
David's going to wake up. Trip.
I'm glad you said that because I was like, you are awake.
Maybe.
It's confusing.
All right, let's then jump out of here. So I'll get you over to the trailer and we'll jump back in after that talking about this film. Bye.
What is it that has Jack spooked? How much do you know about Davy Jones?
You owe me your soul. And it's time to pay up.
If there was anything could be done. Well, there is a chest.
The dead man's chest.
To find it, you must sail to the end of the earth and beyond.
We have our heading.
Captain Sparrow!
Elizabeth.
You know, these clothes do not flatter you at all. It should be a dress or nothing. I happen to have no dress in my cabin.
We're looking for this. The chest of Davy Jones. What is in the chest?
Jack Sparrow! Oh, bugger. Summon the Kraken!
There will come a moment when you have the chance to do the right thing.
I love those moments. I like to wave at them as they pass by.
And welcome back. So, as you could tell from that trailer there, we are starting off this double feature here with Pirates of the Caribbean, technically Pirates of the Caribbean 2, but Dead Man's Chest. So this is from 2006. This was directed by Gore Verbinski. This one actually has a lot of people who are involved here as the writers and everything like that. So let me get these right. The screenplay was written by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. Now, they also came up with the characters with Stuart Beatty and Jay Wolpert. This stars Jonathan Depp, Orlando Bloom, and Keira Knightley. This is an adventure epic, sea adventure, swashbuckler, action-adventure fantasy film. I put it...
Swashbuckler?
Yeah, we talked about this literally
Did
last
we?
time. Yeah, that means like pirates.
That's funny. I'm going to pull it out every time. So we get to do this two more times.
We'll hear this again 3 more times. There's 3 more movies. This is from the United States, currently sitting on a 7.4 on IMDb and a 3.7 on Letterboxd, with the synopsis being: Jackson Sparrow races to recover the heart of Davy Jones.
It does not say that. Okay.
To avoid enslaving his soul to Jones's service, as other friends and foes seek the heart for their own agenda as well. So, I know this isn't the first time you've seen this one. So, my question will be, when was the first time do you remember seeing this movie? Did you see this one in theater or not?
I probably did. I saw it, if not in theater, right when it came out.
Because, I saw this. This is the last one I saw, or this is the only one I saw in theaters. And then, watched it when it came on DVD in college. And then it's been years since I've last seen this one.
I don't know if I've watched it after that initial time. I probably did on streaming, but as you know, when I watch TV and movies,
you kind of just zone out. And
I don't really I can't sit still. So
That's fair.
I don't know. Let's say I've seen it twice.
That's
I
fair.
watched it for real once.
That's fair. So what are your thoughts then this time around?
I remembered more of this movie than I thought.
Okay. Because I mixed this one up to where this one ends and where the third one begins.
So I think I have seen the third one because there's things that I thought were going to happen in the second one that didn't. So
yeah, there's one thing for me that I realized with the Naomi Harris character is that we don't learn her true identity in this one, and I thought we did. Because in this one, she's Tia Dalma, but I know her as her reveal in the third movie.
Yeah, and Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom get married by Jack Sparrow. And that didn't happen in this movie, so...
Which is just fitting, though, because I do love the opening sequence of this with, like, the rain. I don't know if it's the opening sequence, but the early sequence where they're at their wedding day.
It opens up on their wedding.
I wasn't sure if it opened there or if it opened on Stellan Skarsgård's character of Bootstrap being left for dead or not.
No.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
No, it opened up because it's rainy all over the invitations and stuff.
Yes. That's the scene I'm talking about that I thought was absolutely beautiful and dark, dreary, but also just beautifully shot.
Yes. No, so I don't remember what I was going to say. Edit that out.
No, I will not. Oh, you're just talking about like things
brain fart. I'm tired.
Remembered from the third one, but you thought might have been in this one.
That was definitely one of it. Was the marriage? So I know I've definitely seen the third.
Well, this one plays a lot like Empire Strikes Back for Star Wars, in that this one is bleak in the end, and there's not a happy ending to this movie.
No,
this one is very. This one, the bad guys kind of win in this one, which is Empire Strikes Back.
Sad and hopeless. Well, I guess a glimmer of hope because they all agree.
Yeah, but
to go on.
But it's funny because in the theater we all popped at that moment. So spoilers, if you haven't seen this one, you probably should go watch this one. We popped in the theater when Barbossa came down the stairs, but it's kind of weird though because he's a villain.
Yeah,
But this movie they're trying to make him into like a
good guy,
an anti-hero.
I don't think I realized that Jack Sparrow dies in this movie.
I didn't realize that either.
Which, if you look at it, like, there's no way he lives and everyone's sad and all, like, but I don't think I put it together, all the lore of what they were saying.
Yeah, because this one is not as rich in lore as I thought it was. There's a lot of, like, pirate and, like, just ocean-type mythology here, because I never realized the first time I saw this or up until, like, meeting you, and I don't even think you brought this up. I learned it when we went to that one restaurant that Davy Jones's locker is literally the bottom of the ocean, which is funny to me. But that's funny that you would name this character, like this villainous character, Davy Jones. But I do love that all of his like henchmen and all of his sailors that are in his service are becoming creatures that you would find under the ocean or like at the sea bottom.
So the trivia with that is, you can obviously tell there's a hierarchy.
Yes.
Those who are new barely have anything.
Yes. Yeah.
And those who have been there for a while become more and more crustacean-like.
To an extent, because there's also the one that's a hammerhead shark.
Well, so it's just sea life.
Yeah,
and
for
then
sure. I was also going to say there's a hierarchy there because Davy Jones is an octopus and his like second in command is a shark, where the ones who are more like at the bottom of the totem pole are like coral.
Oh, yeah.
Or like barnacles.
That's funny. The animators watched a lot of documentaries on sea creatures just to watch.
Because I noticed this time around, we saw the one guy who had like, I don't know if it was his head or if it was like his chest, literally had like a moray eel pop its head out of like a cave. And I was like, oh my God.
And I guess Orlando Bloom stabs one of them in the stomach. Yes. And you can see that he sewed himself up with a fish line and he kept the hook in. Oh, I didn't notice it, but it was a fun fact that they had.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting there. And we are actually talking about the CGI in this. This is pre-Disney going like full bore with like owning everything. But it looks great here because there was so much that I was like, Jamie, this is 2006 and there's stuff that's come out after this that looked worse.
It's really, that's true. It really does look amazing. I can't believe that I wasn't in awe of it before. But now that I've seen it and just looking at Davy Jones and all the stuff in like
with his
the suction cups as it comes up the ship, it's amazing.
So that's kind of fitting that we were talking during the movie that because this one, another folklore thing is the Kraken is part of Greek mythology as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that that's a giant squid, but you have Davy Jones, who's an octopus, is controlling another.
Well, they didn't know what it should look like. There's no images drawn out, and so they had to go. They actually did research.
Because we were talking about it in Clash of the Titans. They have the Kraken. It's not an octopus in that one. Like it's a giant, like almost kaiju, like Godzilla, like creature that comes out of the ocean.
They had them watch something.
Probably Clash of the Titans.
Maybe it was that.
That's where Harryhausen used claymation to create all these different mythological things that Perseus fought.
Oh, maybe. And they said they watched a whole lot of it to get more of an image.
And I'm pretty sure that the remake of that was Sam Worthington. I think they use an octopus in that one.
Interesting. But I mean, it makes sense that it's the same creature.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think a shark, it's just going to, bump its head into it? Like, it can't cause the same kind of damage.
I mean, yeah, but you definitely want to go with something. Because, I mean, they probably also are borrowing from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, because I'm pretty sure that's where Captain Nemo on his boat, or like his submarine, I think they get attacked by a giant. Because they reference that as well in Sphere, because that's the fear that Samuel L. Jackson has.
Yeah. Oh, that movie gives me the creeps.
Because he could never get past like page like 64 when the creature showed up, or whatever the pages that he. Because every book that he was in his room ends, it's all blank. Because he doesn't know what's after it.
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
We watched it together.
We did
one time.
It took a lot of courage for me to watch it again. I don't think it was. I watched it when I was young.
That's fair.
So it freaked me out. It was not nearly as scary.
That movie's not even technically a horror movie. That's more of like a sci-fi, like.
Yeah.
So anything else? Well, I mean, let me try to think if there's any other mythology that. Oh, they also have like the Flying Dutchman is a legendary
The
ghost ship.
actor wanted him to be Dutch, and he said no, I'll be Scottish.
Who? Which one?
Whoever played Davy Jones.
Oh, Bill Nye.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, he's Dutch. You know, the Flying Dutchman. He was just like, nah, I'll be
weird.
Scottish.
That's funny. Is he? It's crazy because I think he might be. Oh no, his mother was a psychiatric nurse from Glasgow. So he's not technically just like he's English and Scottish, but
it's just funny. He's like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, because he's an interesting actor where his ring fingers and his pinkies are clamped shut because of some condition that he has.
I think it's called I can't remember, but it's actually a diagnosis.
Oh,
it's like the Apostle's hand or Pope's hand.
The Pope's hand, because that's how they bless people is like with that thing. We know my sister pointed that out to me because he's in the Underworld movies, and she noticed it because he carries a sword. And he can only use 3 fingers to hold the sword. Oh. And that's where we're like, oh my god, yeah, his hands are...
stuck like that.
Yep.
Oh.
Anything that you wanted to also, I guess, bring up here for... Because there's way more mythology.
There's a lot of mythology. There's a lot of trivia, but none of it really... There were so many. It just kept going 50 more, plus 50 more, and it repeats itself.
That's a problem. Yeah, that's a problem is because on IMDb, anybody can upload that type of stuff. So there's not a lot of vetting or double checking that fact is up there, and sometimes
or even
it'll be
real. Maybe
that's also true because like unless you get enough people that downvote it, it'll stay.
One thing I did find interesting was the island that Davy Jones's chest is in, which you can do it more literal or more figurative.
Yeah, because it's funny. Davy Jones's
chest or so the island that this chest is on is called Dead Man's Chest because there's a lot of reefs and a lot of people die there because you can get.
We talked about it's pretty much a sandbar. There's no trees.
The sandbar, yeah.
There's no fresh water. There's no nothing.
So there's no shade. So you just die. So marooning when it happened, it could be a couple of days or indefinitely. And if you were marooned on this island, you were definitely going to die.
Got it.
I think that's why they picked to bury it there is because no one's really. There. No one's going to stay there. No one's going to make it a home.
Well, the only weird thing for this movie is I'm pretty sure that island was connected to another island by, like, a very shallow, like, set of water. Because that's where they end up going to fight, where you get the classic scene on the water wheel when they're fighting. And there's, like, a jungle and everything. So, I mean, I don't know if,
so I wonder if, like, it's connected, but not close enough.
Like, I wonder if, like, a land bridge might have, like, just kind of happened somehow, and that, like, connected it. But I thought it was weird because, that island is very... There's nothing... Like, there's
it's
barely...
very sparse.
Yeah.
Or I wonder if it's underwater some of the time.
Could be.
So I thought that was interesting that it's called Dead Man's Chest, and then there's
Which
a
is the
chest of a
subtitle, yeah.
dead man. Like,
And then
there's
there's
a
hearts
lot
in a locker, which could be the chest.
because a chest of gold. Like,
Yeah.
there's a whole lot that can go into it. So I thought that was smart.
Yeah. Anything else that you wanted to talk about for this movie before I jump over to the cast?
Nope.
I've already said Depp. This one had Orlando Bloom when he was still at the top of his game for like acting. He would have probably already been in Lord of the Rings a little bit. Might have been in all three of those
I think
movies.
he was already in it because there's another guy that thought he was going to be.
Oh, yeah, we kind of talked
I
about
can't
this.
remember who that is.
But then he had already been in that. I think he would have been in Troy around this time as well as Paris.
Troy.
My sister was a big fan of him at this point. Keira Knightley, she would have already been in the episode 1 of Star Wars, where she plays one of the.
I didn't know she was in it.
She doesn't have a speaking role. She's one of the imposters for the Queen. So that way, like
She does look like Natalie Portman.
And it's also funny is Rose Byrne is also another actress from the Insidious movies.
Oh, yeah.
They're both decoy queens to protect Natalie Portman.
Interesting.
Jack Davenport comes back here as Norrington. I thought they did some good character development with him, with making him disgraced, because all three of them actually are in trouble because of helping Jack. And then so he's now grubby and living on Tortuga and trying to like find his way as pretty much a pirate. Already brought up Bill Nighy. He's a classic British actor. Jonathan Pryce, who is the father to Keira Knightley in this movie. He's been in a bunch of stuff that he's just kind of a guy who you see. Mackenzie Cook, I believe, is also in Finding Neverland.
Yeah, his eye, they make him wear multiple contacts to make it look wooden.
Okay.
And he hated it because it was uncomfortable.
I bet.
But he wanted to do it because it set him apart.
Yeah, it does give him a little bit more
They're quoted saying, if I didn't have that, I would just be a normal pirate.
But it's weird because him and the guy who he plays off of, that Lee Arenberg, they're also like secondary, like tag-along characters that everybody knows who those two are. They're almost like a comedy duo.
Yes.
We have Stellan Skarsgård here, the father, of course, of Pennywise.
His makeup took 4 hours to put on.
Okay, I believe that. Yeah, he's been in a ton of stuff. He's a great actor. Tom Hollander, who plays Cutler Beckett, he's the new villain from the Dutch East India Company.
Oh.
He looks familiar. I don't know where I know him from, though. Naomi Harris, I know her from 28 Days Later. And then there's not really anybody else, except we do get a cameo at the very end of this one, like we've already brought up, by Jeffrey Rush, reprising his role as Captain Barbossa. Anything else that you wanted to kind of say there before we talk about why we're here?
A great cast list again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, another one that's just a great group of people around him. So what'd you think of Depp's performance here?
Pretty solid.
I mean, I'd put it right up there on par with the first one, where he's pretty much just keeping the character going. I don't know if there's a whole lot of character arc here.
No.
There is a little bit of a weird situation with him and Elizabeth where there's like some sexual attraction.
And they kissed. That was made up by Keira Knightley.
I like it though to make it where Will gets mad at her, which sets up things for the next movie, because there's like distrust.
She's the one that trapped Jack,
and she used her womanly wilds to get him, which I thought that was great.
She doesn't really do that much in the movie.
She doesn't do a whole lot in the first one. This one really kind of helped her kind of develop more of that character.
More of a badass in this one.
Agreed.
It bothers me that she calls him a good man, because he's not. He's not a good man at all.
No, but it's one of those things where, like, he's not a good man, but he does do good things when it benefits him.
That doesn't make him a good man.
But it's one of those things where everybody thinks he's dead, and he probably is dead at this point. And it's one of those things where you remember somebody, even if they're a villain, better than what they were.
That's true.
But I mean, I agree with you. He's not a good man. Like, everything he literally has done throughout this movie was to benefit himself. But to be honest, everything everybody does in this movie is there to benefit themselves, except Will and Elizabeth are the only two who are actually doing something for each other.
Right.
Because if you think about it, Norrington, he gets in the fray to get the heart, but it's only because he wants to restore his status with the British Royal Navy. So he's willing to sell himself to Beckett.
That's very true.
And I guess actually that's not fully true, that I was thinking, because Skarsgård, William Turner, does want to save his son and to get his son freed. So
that's true.
Him and Elizabeth and Will are the only ones who actually are good people, trying to do good things.
Trying.
So, but yeah, that's kind of just my 2 cents on.
Yeah, I thought his performance was great, but in the original movie, it's such a new performance, and he really develops the character that in this one you're like, all right, you repeated what you already did.
Yeah,
that's not his fault
there's not a
or
lot of
anything.
character development from him.
Yeah, so I said
you see
what
a
you
more
said,
situation.
More
I liked how you fleshed that out the way you did, though, because.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
No, so I thought it was a solid performance. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, we've already seen it.
Yeah.
Which, no one's fault, but meh.
Yeah, I mean, he owns this role. Like,
Yeah.
he is Jack Sparrow.
No one can ever replace him.
It'd be tough.
No, I'm going to go with no one can ever replace him.
Well, I mean, like,
in this.
the only thing I would say is that if somebody takes on this role, I'd want you to make it your own. And you can do it quirky, but you need to make it your own. So don't do it. Because, I mean, he almost makes Jack Sparrow be borderline, like, homosexual with how he runs and, like, certain things, certain mannerisms that he does. It does make him very, like...
more flamboyant.
Yes, where he's towing that line, but we clearly see that he gets smacked around by a bunch of, like, prostitutes, and we can also see that Elizabeth is kind of attracted to him because he's that dirty bad boy that you also are.
Shut up.
But, like,
stop it, I'm blushing.
But you can see that, like, he's had his forays with the ladies.
Yeah.
But he still does play, like, he toes that line.
He does, where you just never know what he's going to do.
Yes, which fits the character.
It does.
So then my question is, are you going to keep the Libertine, or are you going to switch off onto this movie?
I'm going to keep the Libertine.
I think I'm going to as well. Nothing against his performance. But
no, it's a great performance.
Yeah, it's just, there's ones better than this one, and I still would give the nod to the original, like you said, because
agreed.
That's where he kind of developed it, and this one's just continuing what he's doing. If anything, I actually think this is probably Knightley's better film.
Yes, agreed.
And everybody else, I think, is kind of on par with what they did previously.
And apparently
as you can hear.
Tripp agrees with you.
Yeah, boy.
Or he's fighting you, I don't know which.
Blind Fury over here with his eyes closed. Anything else you want to say about Dead Man's Chest before we get over to the trailer for At World's End?
Let's watch it.
Alrighty, well, we will be right back with that trailer.
What would you do? What would any of you be willing to do? Would you brave the weird and haunted shores at World's End to fetch back Witty Jack?
Did no one come to save me just because they missed me?
There was a time when a pirate was free to make his own way in the world. But our time is coming to an end.
Why should I sail with any of you? 4 of you have tried to kill me in the past. 1 of you succeeded.
Our enemies have united and vowed to destroy us.
You will fight, and all of you will die.
The pirate lords from the 4 corners of the earth
Welcome to Singapore.
must stand together. There's not been a gathering like this in our lifetime.
And I owe them all money.
That would never have worked out between us.
Keep telling yourself that, darling. They know they face extinction. All that remains is where they make their final stand. Will you marry me?
I don't think now's the best time!
You're mad.
If I wasn't, this would probably never work.
And welcome back. So here is the second part of this double feature here is going to be the third movie of this trilogy, which at this point was considered just to be a trilogy. And this is going to be Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. This is from 2007, even though I'm pretty sure it was probably made back-to-back with the previous one, but I will digress there. But this one here, I wanted to make sure I gave everybody credit, but it's directed once again by Gore Verbinski. And then the writing team here, the screenplay was written by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, and they also came up with the characters with Stuart Beatty and Jay Wolpert. Now, this stars Jonathan Depp, Orlando Bloom, and Keira Knightley. This is an epic adventure, sea adventure, swashbuckler, action-adventure fantasy film that I believe this one might have had two. No, this is just from the United States. Currently sitting on a 7.1 on IMDb and a 3.5 on Letterboxd, with the synopsis being: Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann, Hector Barbosa, and the crew of the Black Pearl try and rescue Jack from Davy Jones's locker and prepare to fight Lord Cutler Beckett, who controls Davy Jones and the Flying Dutchman.
In my head, Lord is just spelled with an E at the end.
Yeah, that's...
Even
though the singer is not even a thing yet. At 2007.
Really?
She might have actually, now I think about it, she might have had her... Royal might have been out around that point.
I don't know.
Anyways. So...
I meant just for Old English.
That's fair. You've seen this one before,
but didn't care.
Well, it's never how it's spelled, but except for the singer. You've seen this one before, but you said you probably only about once.
Once.
Yeah. I think this might be my second, third time, one of those two.
It didn't have as much lore and
stuff
in it, so I don't know why I found it hard to follow. I think it's just because there's so many characters and so many things
3 hours long
happening, and it's 3 hours
and
long.
Everything gets fully developed.
Yeah. Well, fun fact.
It wastes a lot of time.
It started filming without a finished script.
Oh, that explains it then.
There's just a lot going on in this movie.
Yeah, because I have my issues, but I'll bring that up later. So, what did you think of the second time around?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Now that I know it's not that hard to follow, I don't know. It's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I actually think the second one's a better movie.
Yeah.
I'll get into something I think is better in this one, but I do think that this one kind of has the same diminishing returns that I have for Return of the Jedi. Because this is literally built around the original Star Wars trilogy, where the first one's pretty much almost a standalone movie, but I don't know if this one was written that way. Star Wars wasn't. Star Wars was written as a 3-part epic.
Oh, really?
So they knew that as long as it did well in the box office, they were going to make the next two, and it made money hand over fist.
Right?
Yeah. But this one feels very similar to that, and that, or the first one matches up there. Then part 2 reminds me of Empire Strikes Back, where it's a bleaker ending. You know there's going to be a third movie, so everything kind of let's have the bad guys win here, have the good guys lose. So then that way it builds up where you're excited for the third movie. And then, to me, the conclusion just is good, but I don't get that same feeling of excitement at the end.
Yeah, that's fair. I know I've watched the Star Wars movies, but I've just blacked them out.
That's fair.
I can't get into that.
I'm not trying to sell you on. I'm just saying
Good.
This feels very much like the writers were like, well, this is what Star Wars did, so let's kind of follow a similar vein.
And it's done very well for them.
Yeah.
This movie's budget was over $300 million.
I saw that. It's one of the highest budgeted movies.
It was more than all 3
Lord of the
Rings ones. That's crazy.
That's interesting. Both
That's
of them
more money than
good...
we will never have that amount, ever.
It's actually kind of interesting, though, is that kind of going along with that idea, both of them have very good CGI to the point where you don't notice that it's really CGI sometimes.
And Orlando Bloom is in both of them.
Oh, yeah. Legolas. That was his name.
I know.
He's an elf.
If you would say Legolas, I'd be like, oh, elf.
There you go.
Middle Earth.
So then, I guess, what would you like to talk about then for this movie from what we've kind of already...
I think it's hard to review these movies back to back.
Yeah, because it's kind of what
it's the same movie. It's just a little bit deeper.
Well, then I will say something. I love that they kind of develop more of the pirate society in this one, and that they have their own form of government that's extremely corrupt, but they all kind of have a little bit of honor still, despite
it's
being
their
villains.
own honor.
Yeah,
but it supposedly is based off of a true brother in.
I believe it. Yeah.
So I think this has more fact, and I'm using air quotes because we don't know everything that happened back then, but I would imagine that the leaders would get along at some point in time for a common enemy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, so to speak.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I also like the whole 9 pieces of 8 thing, because it's so absurd that,
and it's 9 pieces of garbage that they found,
because they didn't have things to like actually make like it's something official. So I think
to me it would be like the rings of the
Captain Planet.
Yes, that or a puzzle or something, and they're just like
That's
one guy has a wooden eyeball.
That one guy is Barbossa.
So Barbossa died.
Yes.
The one guy that keeps the wooden eyeball would have been the leader.
Or at least the keeper of the... Because it wasn't necessarily like his... Like, he was never given command, but he's keeping it safe for Barbossa.
But what if Barbossa never would have came back?
Yes, that would have been an issue. But, I mean...
Because that's why they had to go get Barbossa, right?
Well, that's why they had to go get Jack. But yes,
that's why they had to get Jack, yes.
That's why Tia Dalma brings Barbossa back as well, though. And that's why he is pretty much blackmailed into releasing her. Which that goes nowhere, and that really kind of annoys me. That's one of my major issues. They make it seem like Calypso is this big bad villain, and then she just disappears.
I wonder if she comes back in the next movie. Oh, really?
I don't think so.
But she ties together Davy Jones.
Yeah, but like...
That's his lover, and they're together, and...
Yeah, but I mean, like, everybody's worried about releasing her. Then they release her. She makes it storm out, and then she disappears.
She gets really big, too, and gives them rope burn.
She does. And I mean, that's all fine and well, but like, if you're going to have a 3-hour movie, you cannot leave story threads undone, to me.
That's fair.
Because you're going way over my limit of an hour and a half. And you're not earning everything, in my opinion, if you have loose threads still. Unless the story continued with her, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't, because this does allude to what the next story is with Ponce de Leon. But I think it's actually Cortez and Blackbeard is who comes back, because I know it's the search for the Fountain of Youth.
I know we finished this, 2 nights ago?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm having a hard time remembering a lot of stuff.
I'm a little bit better at it than you are.
Oh my gosh, you are. Well, 1, at baseline.
Yeah, but I mean,
2.
like you said, though, there's a lot of stuff that you don't know if it was the last movie or if it was this movie. This one does, like I said, much better about them going to, like, Singapore, and then you meet, like, the other...
More character development.
Yes. And...
Elizabeth Swann isn't such a damsel in distress.
Agreed. She's actually pretty...
Badass.
Yeah, in this one, where she does a lot of fighting, and... I mean, she ends up becoming the Pirate Lord of Singapore because Chow Yun-Fat's character gives her control of it.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, I feel like it's a little bit unearned, but they do have a redemption tale between her and Will.
Yeah.
That felt a little bit forced, but...
They wanted there to be a love story.
And, I mean, that's fine, but it also doesn't go anywhere with her being in love with Jack and everything like that. They start building...
I don't know if she's in love with Jack. I think there's...
No, but I mean, Will thinks she is. So, like, they kind of just introduce that, and then it goes nowhere.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess anything else that you want to talk about with this movie?
No, not really. I think we covered it in the last 2 movies of it that we reviewed.
I will say, the last thing, and then we'll move over to why we're here. I did find it interesting that it does kind of have a sad ending that Will is now cursed to be the captain of the Flying Dutchman.
I think it's how you look at it. He's actually doing the job.
He is.
So the dead, he's actually ferrying them over. So that's nice.
That is nice. But he's not going to see his wife except every 10
son.
years. And she's going to die like in the nearest future, if you think about it. Like, they're probably only going to see each other again maybe another 3 times tops? 4 times maybe?
Well, if you actually think about it, yeah, it's sad.
Well, I mean, that's what I think about, though. Is that like, could you imagine if I was gone at 10-year stretches?
Yeah, that's why I told you it wouldn't work.
Well...
It wouldn't.
I know, but...
I couldn't talk to you. I talk to you just about the random thoughts that pop into my head all day.
You're very bored right now.
I'm so bored. I am so happy, but I am bored.
All right, so let's go through the cast list then real quick. We've already talked about Depp. I do think that Bloom and Knightley are very good here. Once again, they do own their role. I mean, Depp owns his role. I mean, that's goes without saying. I did like Jeffrey Rush being back as Hector Barbosa.
Sorry. Johnny Depp made up the name Hector. He did it as a joke, and fans believed him. So the writers named him because he was just Barbosa.
Yeah, as I say, they never say his name in the movie.
Yeah,
except until like maybe this one or maybe the second one.
He jokingly was like, "Oh yeah, his name's Hector."
It doesn't fit though because Hector is kind of like a Spanish name, and he does not seem Spanish at all.
So the writers felt forced to do that.
Okay,
I thought that was funny.
That is funny. Jack Davenport is back once again as Norrington. I do like his performance there. Tripp's making his own little thoughts here about that. Bill Nighy, once again, great as Davy Jones. Mm-hmm. Jonathan Pryce is in this briefly as the Governor Weatherby Swan. Mackenzie Crook, I just bring up again because he was in Finding Neverland, so give him credit. Kevin McNally is good as Gibbs. Stellan Skarsgård has a smaller role in this one.
Smaller, but you actually get to see more of his face.
That's true. I actually thought that Tom Hollander was good as Cutler Beckett as like the villain, and his demise at the end is kind of very interesting as well because he kind of just gives up and realizes he's defeated, and it's kind of like whoa.
Well, for him, he thinks he's playing chess while everyone's playing checkers.
And then he realizes he's been out-dueled, and then...
I don't think he thought that they could ever band together.
That's true. That's fair.
But you have to think he's just as bad as the pirates with double-crossing and everything, so...
He might be worse because he's open for genocide.
Yeah, that's true.
Naomi Harris is Teodoma, a.k.a. Calypso. And I think that's the only ones I'm going to do here. So is there anything you wanted to say with the cast outside of what I've already shared?
Johnny Depp really liked working with Jeffrey Rush, and he is quoted saying he was pleased to have more screen time, and he said, quote unquote, "We're like a couple of old ladies with knitting needles." I just want to be his friend. He seems so interesting.
I'd like to meet Jeffrey Rush. He's a cool guy.
No, Johnny Depp is
who
I
understand.
We're talking about.
Yeah, I get it. I actually forgot to say Keith Richards also makes an appearance. Chow Yun-Fat. Keith Richards plays Johnny Depp's dad, who is the
funny.
Keeper of the Pirates Code. Yeah.
It's just funny because Johnny's the one that bends that code more than anybody.
That's true. He really does. So then, anything else?
Nope, that's all.
Okay, then we can jump over to talking about why we are here, and what do you think of Johnny Depp's performance as Jack Sparrow for the third time?
I liked how he did this role significantly more than the last movie.
This is what I was going to say, too. I agree. I think this one does well, especially with him being isolated at different times, where you see the different forms of Jack Sparrow and how they talk to each other and how some of them are mean to each other, and just... He gets to show range in a way that I would never expect a movie like this to show range.
I always find it impressive when you have a character who's obviously talking to nobody.
Yeah.
But they, superimpose it on there or whatever?
More than likely, what they're doing is filming stuff with, since they have computers, they're probably filming him doing this multiple different ways by himself and then using green screen and stuff to incorporate in the different forms of him. And then just syncing it up where, like, the dialogue sounds like he's talking to himself.
Superimpose it. So
that's what they used to do. I don't think they do it anymore.
Right, but you get the gist.
Because you would do it in camera.
Yes. So I think it's interesting, or not, it's just fascinating how he looks so convincing.
Yeah.
And I think that takes a powerful actor. Like in The Libertines when he does, like, all those monologues and stuff. He's doing monologues in that one to the camera, where this one he's doing it to nobody,
right? And
I just think you can see so much more range that he has and more personalities come out because it happens in two different sequences, I believe.
Yeah, because it's one he's stuck in Davy Jones's locker when the Black Pearl is in the middle of the desert, and then he does it again in the cell of the Flying Dutchman when he actually gets himself free, and that's actually kind of funny because he talks to his form if he was a member of the crew, where he's stuck in the wall.
And then he also does, like, an angel and a devil. Yeah. I think he does an excellent job here.
No, I agree. I think he does very well. Do you think it's better than The Libertine?
I do.
Really?
Better is not the right word.
Okay, interesting. So you're switching over to Pirates 3?
I just think it's such a different range.
Okay.
I don't think it invokes as much emotion as The Libertine does.
Okay.
But it's so much lighthearted and I need a little comedy in my life, so I'm switching.
I have nothing. I'm going to stick with the Libertine just because I think it's still a better performance. This is probably, it might be the best performance so far as Jack Sparrow.
I don't know, that first one.
Yeah, but I mean, the first one is him just kind of establishing the character, where this one is showing much more range, where I think it's better than what he does in 2. Where 2 just kind of feels like he's going, like he's playing the character, but there's not as much given to him to play the character.
Right, I think he's a little more constrained.
Yeah. Interesting, okay. Anything else you want to talk about then with At World's End before we briefly kind of just talk about the next episode and get out of here?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Okay, well, the next 2 movies, I've been looking this up today, and then I wanted to make sure I had it pulled up so I didn't get it wrong. But we have an interesting little double feature here that you could almost call it a crime double feature.
Ooh.
As the first movie is Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Love this movie.
I've seen it once, and I really liked it.
I've seen it a lot of times. He was practicing his songs for Sweeney Todd on the set of Pirates.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting. Because, it's him going back to Timmy B. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be pairing this up with Public Enemies, where he plays, I think, John Dillinger?
He does. I've seen this movie. I used to own it.
I've seen this one once.
I've seen it a few times.
I saw it on DVD, and then that was that.
I've seen both of these in theater.
I saw Sweeney Todd in theaters. I was in
pretty
college.
sure I own that one.
I don't know if you own... I think you might own Public Enemies. I'd have to double check.
I used to.
I think you might. I don't know. I'd have
but
to
then I
double
moved
check.
so many times, some things had to go.
That's fair. Anything else you want to say to our lovely audience before we get out of here?
Thanks for stopping by.
As I'm recording this with Trip in my arms.
Hey, what do you call it? Survival?
Oh yeah, we're just win and survive.
Win and survive.
Like playing a sport where you have all the tools to be great, but sometimes you just gotta get out of there with a win.
I'm gonna give a huge shout out to our sweet baby boy. He only woke me up once last night.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a nice little stretch.
Mackenzie did me twice.
Did she really?
Well, she cried out before I went to bed, and then she cried out in the middle of the night.
I haven't even heard it.
After I was down for 45 minutes. I was sleeping for 45 minutes.
Is it to get a booger out of her nose?
No, that was the night before.
Being a parent is wild.
Yeah, that was nice. Well, then I am one half of your hosting duo of David Garrett Jr., and I am signing off.
And I'm Jamie Frisch Garrett. I'll talk to you next time.
Okay, bye.
It had been a wonderful evening, and what I needed now to give it the perfect ending